Damichael Cole, I have a question for you. Do you know why tonight's an important night?
Because it's the NBA Cup, Joe. It's the NBA Cup.
No, that's not what you were supposed to say. You're supposed to say it's a division rival. You're supposed to say it's an important basketball game because it's another chance to earn seeding in the Western Conference. You let me down, Damichael. Don't dance. Stop
NBA
dancing.
Cup, baby. Let's go to Vegas.
No, we're not going to Vegas. No one's going to Vegas.
$500,000.
Oh, gosh. Let's lock in.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's a Tuesday edition of Locked On Grizzlies. I am Joe Mullinax. I am most certainly not going to Las Vegas. Damichael Cole, I suppose, still has an outside chance at going to Las Vegas as the Memphis Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal there in Memphis, Tennessee. But you're with us for the next 30 minutes or so here on Locked On Grizzlies, and we are very grateful to have you along for the ride. Today's episode is sponsored by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. As proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every single day. Like, comment, rate, review, subscribe on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube. Literally anywhere you get a podcast, you can find Locked On Grizzlies. Make Damichael and myself part of your Memphis Grizzlies content consumption each and every time that an episode drops. And also do it each and every time that a newsletter drops, right? Locked On Grizzlies newsletter. Go to lockedondaily.com, find the Grizzlies tab, click, read, subscribe. I put words in that newsletter every day for you to consume. The main topic of today's newsletter is going to be similar topic to what we're talking about on the show today. The surprises, the pros, the cons of this first quarter of the Memphis Grizzlies season so far. Pretty crazy, partner, that we're already through 1/4 of the NBA schedule. But here we are, and the Memphis Grizzlies sitting pretty right now near the top of the Western Conference. They have played a pretty light schedule, and that changes tonight. We'll finish out the show talking about Grizzlies Mavericks. But before we get to all that, and before, I can't believe you fist pumped over the NBA Cup.
It's the last one.
That hurt my heart. Thank God it's the last one. And hopefully it's the last one ever. Hopefully Emirates flies away. See what I did there? Hopefully they fly away and take their money somewhere else, and I don't have to watch the NBA Cup anymore. But, you know, I'm an admitted curmudgeon when it comes to the NBA Cup. I think it's an important game for the reasons I outlined earlier, but we'll talk more about that. This is an interesting start to the season for the Memphis Grizzlies. Still not much Ja Morant in terms of availability. We'll talk more about that, I'm sure, in the second segment. But we're going to start positive like we usually like to do here on Locked On Grizzlies, Damichael. And looking at this Grizzlies team a quarter of the way through the season, what is the best of the way that Memphis has begun the 2024-2025 campaign? Friendly reminder, you and I both said that Memphis had to start fast. They have done just that.
Yeah, I'll give the big picture answer first here, and it's the depth. The depth has been kind of one of the best parts to this season so far, simply because of the fact when we talk about those two teams from a couple years ago that won over 50 games in the regular season, I said, why the Grizzlies, even before this season, I think I said it, but one thing that always stands out to me about great regular season teams is great regular season teams have depth. Depth doesn't matter as much in the playoffs, which is an entirely different conversation for us to have. But right now we're talking about regular season basketball. The depth that the Grizzlies have built is important simply because it gives them the ability to not have too many super lows, you know, over the course of the regular season because you have so many capable players. Right now, Scottie Pippen Jr. is the 11th man. Have you noticed that, Joe? He is numero 11 for the Grizzlies.
Which is just crazy.
He just had a 30.10 assist game, like 3 games ago. So he's man 11 with, Marcus Smart, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and all those guys back into the fold. He's not getting a lot of minutes right now. So with all that being said, he's also man 11 with the caveat of Zach Edey and Vince Williams Jr. being out. So maybe he's not even man 11 and Gigi Jackson being out as well. So with all that being said, the depth that this team has accumulated is impressive from the standpoint, not only because you have so many different guys that you can go through over the course of a game, but the best regular season teams are built to handle, those injuries throughout the regular season. Like Take the Suns, for example. That's one. You remember they started out real hot. They had all the big three available. I think they were at the top of the West. And now they're in the play-in because Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal missed some time, and they just went phew. But to the opposite of that, the Grizzlies, just like a few other teams in the West, I think Golden State to this point is 3-1 without Steph Curry. The Dallas Mavericks just went 5-1 without Luka because, Kyrie Irving, some of the great things he did and some of the other players stepping up. And then, of course, what the Clippers are doing right now without Kawhi Leonard, if you want to count that. But all that being said, that's kind of what puts you up the next level. This depth that they've developed gives them the ability and really puts me confident that they could be a playoff team. Because I know we're probably going to talk about the availability standpoint a little bit later because you've had all these different injuries. And at this point, you've come to, expect, how can you handle those injuries when those things happen? And this team has shown the ability of we can be decent without Ja Morant. They don't got to be the best team in the world. We can be decent, without Desmond Bane. We can beat, bottom tier teams without those players. And that's been one of the best realizations at this point because that wasn't a thing last year. They were losing to Portland, Utah, and whoever else you could think of.
My best thing is I want to shout out Peter Edmiston, and I've told this story a couple of times.
Shout
it's
out
one of
Pete.
one of my favorite stories. Back in 2018, I was running Grizzly Bear Blues. I was the site manager, and we actually hosted in connection with the Grizzlies. It was the only time that this happened. But we had a live podcast there in FedEx Forum. And I was there, and we were covering it as a blog, and I flew in for this event, and it was a lot of fun. And Jaren Jackson Jr. was the pick. And if you remember, there were boos.
I was there.
This pick was made. Jaren Jackson Jr. See, in an alternate universe, we would have already known each other. But there were boos. You were there. You heard them just like I did. And I didn't boo because I was technically credentialed media at that event. But I didn't feel super stoked at that moment because I thought that Jaren was a project. Not that I didn't think that Jaren wouldn't be good. I thought he was a project, and the Grizzlies still had Mike Conley, still had Marc Gasol. I thought they were still trying to win. Peter Edmiston, former host of Locked On Grizzlies, wrote Here, There, and Everywhere in Memphis, phenomenal writer and great podcaster, radio host as well. Peter pulled me aside, and he said, Joe, he's going to be good. And I said, Peter, I believe in you, Pete. I trust you, Pete. He was like, he's going to be good. Trust me. And Peter Edmiston looks like a genius because this is the Jaren Jackson Jr. that I can sit on this podcast 6 years later and say with a straight face, he's the best player on the Memphis Grizzlies right now. Doesn't mean he's the most entertaining. Doesn't mean he's not the most explosive. And I did say right now, so John Morant could easily take this mantle back in the next week or two. But a quarter of the way through this season, the MVP of the Memphis Grizzlies is not John Morant, and it's not Desmond Bane. It's Jaren Jackson Jr.
Without a doubt.
That's phenomenal for Jaren, right? The whole extension thing that's coming. I think it's safe to say max money is on the horizon for him, deservedly so. But it's phenomenal for the Memphis Grizzlies for the exact reason that you just outlined. We will talk about availability more later on in the program. Jaren Jackson Jr. has freaking been there, man. And he has been on the court dominating defensively. He continues his isolation scoring. If I was to nitpick, I always bring this up with Jaren. The assists are back down. But that this season especially is the definition of nitpicking. This guy is an all-NBA caliber player. He should be an all-star, like we talked about yesterday. He is having the best season of his career, and he deserves his flowers.
And he's doing it in under 30 minutes a game, Joe.
It's phenomenal.
It's terrific to see him playing the way that he's playing. But, a reason that he's playing this way under 30 minutes is the last thing that I want to touch on here, and it's this new offense, I think, has been a positive so far. It's been one of the best parts of the first quarter. And here's what I'll say as the reason why. Because when they implemented this new offense, one of the questions that I personally had, but I wasn't going to talk about it out loud because people didn't really probably care about it that much. They just want to see great offense. I'm big on principles, and we talk about the identity of Taylor Jenkins teams. It always was pretty consistent. They were top in paint scoring. They get out and run, and they're one of the best rebounded teams in the league. My question was, are they going to sacrifice something to become this new offense? Do they become a different type of transition team? Do they become a different team in the paint and all these things? But no. So not only are they still number one in the NBA in paint scoring, top 3 in the NBA in pace, and top 5 in the NBA in rebounding rate, just rebounding rate in general. Not only are they near the top of the league in all of those categories still, now they're number 1 in assists per game. That wasn't a thing at first. So it's like with Jaren Jackson Jr., like you said, there are things to nitpick, but I feel like this offense has done a good job of surrounding the stars with players who can kind of cover up some of their weaknesses in a way, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is Jaren Jackson Jr. has never been a great rebounder. The Grizzlies, despite that, are still a great rebounding team, for example. Desmond Bane has never been a great finisher. Despite that, the Grizzlies are still one of the best paint scoring teams in the NBA. So I think that is something to point out, the fact that this new offense, and, of course of the season, we'll see how they continue to develop and come along. But I think where we are right now, things have been pretty encouraging.
Let Damichael and I know in the comments. Hit us up on X at Damichael C or at Joe Mullinax. I talked about Jaren. Damichael talked about the new look offense. He talked about the positivity behind that. Let us know how you're feeling positivity-wise, the best of this first part of the Memphis Grizzlies season. Doesn't mean that it's all sunshine and rainbows, right? There's room for growth, and we'll talk about, and I'm going to bring up that new offense in that particular way coming up next here on Locked On Grizzlies. You probably know where I'm going with that. This episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Hey, that's today. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Maybe you think Desmond Bane against the Dallas Mavericks, he's going to get more than 5 three-pointers tonight. Maybe you think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to post more than 25 points. Cook up hot takes with friends. Win real money this basketball season with you and your crew as you run your game on PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is also brought to you by Gametime. I love hockey. I love going and seeing it live. I love the Washington Capitals playing pretty well right now, even without Alex Ovechkin with the broken leg. I love going and watching the NHL. I plan on doing so soon, especially as the holidays come up, and I plan on using the Gametime app to do just that. You can toggle on the all-in pricing feature that shows you the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy it, and you also get the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime Picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. I alluded to it a moment ago, partner, this idea of things to improve on.
Yep.
And the elephant in the room is Desmond Bane, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's a ton of context here, right? The oblique injury. I'm not an elite level athlete like you, Damichael.
No, them days are over.
if you tweak a oblique or an oblique,
it
feels like that would be a relevant injury to someone's shooting motion, right? So that seems relevant to bring up here. And the best part, you wrote about this recently in the Commercial Appeal, Desmond Bane will never use that as an excuse. Right? Nope. That's not the kind of mental makeup he has. It's one of the reasons.
He told me he feels great.
Right.
Not good, because I asked him, did he feel good? He said, no, I feel great.
So he's not going to bring up anything like that. There's no excuse. He knows he needs to play better. I am intrigued, and I've seen this on X. I wish I remembered who to give it credit for. By all means, hit me up on X. I'll shout you out there or in the YouTube comments. I've seen a couple of people bring up how not just Desmond Bane, but Luke Kennard as well. Yeah. Guys that maybe have more dependency on others. Now, Desmond Bane is easily of the two options there, better at creating his own shot than Luke Kennard is. But is it possible, Damichael, as a point of growth for this new scheme, is it possible that this isn't really, at least to this point, putting Desmond Bane in the best position to be successful? Now, it's hard to say that when you see him miss open threes. And that's where I lean towards he's just in a slump. It's a prolonged slump.
Yeah, if his efficiency was up, his numbers would probably not be last season, but they'd be close.
Correct. But it's still noticeable that it's not just him, right? There's other guys that historically have been really strong shooters for Memphis. Maybe it's the rhythm of the offense. Maybe they're not getting it in the shooting pocket the way that they're used to. Whatever the case might be, it seems like it's something to keep an eye on going into the second quarter, I should say, of this season, how Desmond Bane continues to evolve in this offense. Because you mentioned the playoffs earlier, Damichael. That's the end game of this, right? That's the goal. And for the Grizzlies to win in the postseason, they are going to need Desmond Bane to be better than he has been so far.
Yeah, that's a big part of it for sure. I think, like you said, when it comes down to it, and going back to what I said in the first segment about the depth is all fine and dandy in the regular season, but you're not playing 11 guys in the playoffs. If you are, you're going to hear a lot about it because those other teams, Steph Curry and the LeBrons and the Kevin Durants of the world, they're going to be playing 40 minutes. They're going to be playing 38, 39 minutes. So these 27, 28-minute games from John Morant and all that will have to cease. And the Grizzlies will have to figure out what are the best 8 to 9 that we can just throw out there for, the starters for 35 plus, and then these other 4 to 5 guys that can just give quick breathers every now and then we go right back to the guys. That is what they'll have to figure out. But how that pertains to Desmond Bane, honestly, I think when that time comes, it'll be better for Desmond Bane, actually. I think one thing that Desmond Bane is dealing with right now is simply a math problem too, but then the efficiency, I want to go back to that. His numbers are down across the board, but what he said to me was it's the offense. He said that, a lot of guys are having big years, and if you look at it, that's kind of how it's doing. Santi Aldama, Jake LaRavia, Scottie Pippen Jr. These are guys that are out. Jalen Wells, outside of the regular guys that we expected, like Jaren and Ja to have big seasons. So sure, if Jaren and Ja's numbers are roughly around, where you expected them to be, and then you have all these other guys who are having better numbers, like Jake LaRavia averaging double figures and whatnot. We didn't expect that. Somebody's numbers in there gotta go down somewhere in there. And so far it's kind of been Desmond Bane has been one of those guys, Luke Kennard as well, as you mentioned. I'm not overly concerned about it. Des isn't worried about it. I think it's something he's going to have to get used to, because the way he described it is it's just, a rhythm thing. So many guys are having big nights, and that's kind of what's happening. We shouted out Santi Aldama this week. Scottie Pippen had as I mentioned, a 30-10 game. Jake LaRavia. It's so many different guys, and Ja and Jaren are doing what they do. Jalen Wells just had a big game. So I think that's a big part of it as well. And then getting into the thing with the offense, I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what this half-court offense can do. And right now, again, the Grizzlies, they're running. But I think right now they're still middle of the pack in half-court offense. I think in points per play for half-court offenses, I think they're about 17th, 18th right now in the league, which is, around below, again, there are 30 teams in the league. So you know what that number means. But at the same time, they're not really playing in half court a lot, because they're getting out and they're running. They're getting into their second actions really quick. You hear Taylor Jenkins over there yelling, next action, and they go right into the next actions, and they're creating easy scoring opportunities. And that's why they're blowing teams out the way they are, because they're just playing so fast, and it's creating a lot of efficient opportunities for them. So with all that being said, I think that's something that I want to see how it progresses better over the course of the season. And what I think will be a good kind of determining factor in how that half-court offense progresses is who is Taylor Jenkins going to settle on. We've hinted at talking about this subject at some point. And playing 11, I don't know how everyone feels about it. Would love to hear how everybody feels about the idea of playing the 11. If you're cool with playing 11 over the course of the season, I would love to let us know in the YouTube comments. But as for me, I think eventually you got to knock this thing down to 9. And in fact, Taylor Jenkins agrees with me. I haven't really talked about it much, but Taylor Jenkins said at some point they want to get this thing down to 9 or 10 guys. They're playing 11 right now, and you can make like I said, you can make an argument that there are 3 injured guys who belong in those 11. So that's 14 guys. So you're talking about potentially at some point 4 to 5 guys being on that bench, feeling like if I was playing right now, I could be the difference in the game. That's going to be tough, but that's what you got to do, because in the playoffs, you're not going to be playing 11 like that. And if he does, it's going to be chaotic, because you just can't afford to fall behind big in the playoffs like you can, in a regular season, get down 17 and just walk the Pacers down in pretty much over a quarter. Like, it's not going to be like that in the playoffs. So at some point, it's going to be the toughest, probably one of the toughest jobs that Taylor Jenkins has had in his tenure as the Grizzlies coach, because this team is so deep. I think you got to get down to 9, Joe. Maybe 9.5.
I think that it's so hard to predict because of the team's injury issues, right? And the availability piece is part of this too. Like, John Morant has missed numerous games. Desmond Bane has missed numerous games. We haven't seen Gigi Jackson yet. We've barely seen Vince Williams Jr. Zach Edey has been out for a while. Those are 5 guys that were part of the original 10-man rotation that we thought we were going to have. Yeah. So the second part of this season is going to be fascinating in that way, how Jenkins navigates that, how the Grizzlies themselves kind of approach this trade deadline. Again, I am going to be fascinated to see the discourse around what Memphis should do. Because on one hand, you should lean into your depth if you have all these history issues in the past, or injury history issues. But at the same time, you're exactly right. History tells us that you play 9 to 10 guys in the playoffs tops. And maybe you keep guys around and you wait to see who has the hot hand and you do it that way. Or do you try to make a consolidation trade? What would that even look like? It's really going to be a fascinating thing to watch unfold. Let Damichael and I know how you guys are feeling in the comments or on X at Damichael C or at Joe Mullinax. When we come back, we're going to finish out this episode previewing Grizzlies Mavs. It's for the cup, brother. Rip the shirt off.
Rip the shirt off.
Cup-a-mania's running wild, brother, when we come back. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by BetterHelp. The holidays are a wonderful time to be together, spend time with family and friends, count your blessings, forgive and forget, get ready for a new year. I love all of those things about the month of December and then some. I also like staying cozy, nice and warm by the fire with family, drinking a mug of hot chocolate, watching Garfield's Christmas. You know Garfield's Christmas. I know you do. And if you don't, you should look it up as soon as possible. It's phenomenal Christmas special. That is my best form of therapy, but actual therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort as well. And it never goes away, even when the seasons change. If you're thinking of starting therapy, you should give BetterHelp a try. Fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Damichael, the finale of the NBA Cup, at least group play, this nonsense that they keep trying to force on us. It's Grizzlies Mavericks. That's why I care, because it's going to be a good basketball game. I hate it so much. I just want to watch basketball.
You make me look like I love it.
I just want to watch basketball. I don't need the big flashy things. I want to watch Luka Doncic be the best player on the planet, arguably. Nikola Jokic would probably disagree with me, as would a majority of folks. But he looked pretty darn good in his return this past weekend. And by the way, as much as I like to make fun of Kyrie Irving, hard to make fun of him this season because he also looks really freaking good. They might legitimately be the best backcourt in the NBA. Memphis has their hands full tonight, cup or no cup.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. And this is what I've been looking forward to. Honestly, it might be different for, some of the fans or whatnot. But no, I take that back, because some fans have said to me, they want to see this. This is what it's all about, right? Now you got to test yourself out. The Grizzlies have just been obliterating teams. It's borderline funny to me, because we do all this talking about clutch time situations and stuff. They haven't even had those lately. This 6-game win streak has been pretty much, we want Yuki with about 3-4 minutes left in the fourth quarter of every game, because it's not close. But Dallas is a different breed. Dallas has great role players. They have bigs that are going to challenge Jaren Jackson Jr. They have bigs that are going to challenge, Brandon Clark and Santi Aldama, who's been a rebounding monster or whatever the case may be. They have athletic wings. They have two of the best shot creators probably in NBA history, not just in the league now. Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. That's two guys where you could just there's going to be a bunch of times where you say, hey, I did the best I could, and they're going to make them. So it's going to be a really tough game. It's going to be fun. But this is what this is what it's all about. Like the Grizzlies are finally, on the healthier side of things. Like I think it was kind of annoying when the Grizzlies looked like they were about to get something going, and then they played the Lakers and the Warriors, and there was no Ja Morant, and there was no Dez for the Lakers game, and then they got Desmond back, Dez and Vince Williams back for the Warriors game, but still that was their first game back, and there was no Ja. So now you got your core three, all available, and you got some other guys back into the fold as well. This is going to be a fun game. I really look forward to coming back talking after this game about what we really have learned about the Grizzlies. Not taking too much out of one game, but if they blow the Mavericks out like they've done all these other teams, that's going to be a statement, to say the least. The Mavericks, just like the Grizzlies, have been playing real good basketball of late, and they've been doing it without Luka. So, like I said, 5-1 this season without him, and now he's back. Kyrie Irving missed the last game. We'll see, what his status is. But when those two guys are on the floor together, it's a scary sight. And you know what? I'm looking forward to this matchup.
You could easily argue that these are the two best teams in the Western Conference right now, right? The Houston Rockets have won 3 games in a row. The Thunder have cooled a little bit. I think that in terms of current level of play, Memphis and Dallas. And I think it's a fair question to ask, is Memphis for real? Because they've done a lot of this work against bad basketball teams.
Yeah, nobody's really buying into it outside of Memphis.
No, they're not. And I think that the biggest thing for tonight is going to be, how do the Grizzlies defend consistently? Because defense travels, right? That's the saying. Offense, all these wonderful scheme additions and whoever's running the show on that end, whatever, that doesn't matter. When it comes to what the Grizzlies have done best, not just in this Taylor Jenkins era, but across Grizzlies basketball being good, has been impressive defense, right? Defense should travel. So how does Ja Morant's growth as a defender, like we talked about yesterday, how does that translate to this game?
He's going to have to guard some real bad boys in this game.
He's going to have to stick somebody, right? He's going to have to be responsible for someone on the perimeter that can score the basketball. Now, that's an interesting question. Who does he guard? Who does he pick up?
You remember when Anthony Edwards said, "I want Kyrie," and he was huffing and puffing.
Did not go well for him.
It didn't go well.
Now, Quentin Grimes exists, right? Like that's an important thing to point out. Quentin Grimes is a guy that could potentially be a starter. Jaden Hardy as well, next to Boca Luka and Kyrie, assuming Kyrie plays. There's places where you can hide him, but in games like this where you're not,
I'm thinking down the stretch. I'm thinking late fourth quarter when Luka's hunting those mismatches, and you gotta roll your pants up and bend down and really get in that stance and say, it's me and you. Like, what's going to happen? That's what I'm looking forward to.
And this isn't a game where you can say that the Grizzlies decidedly have the talent, the talent advantage. I think Memphis's best 3 are better than the Mavericks' best 3. But I think the Mavericks' best 2 and best 1 are better than the Grizzlies' best 2 and best 1. So this is a night for the depth of Memphis to shine. It's a night for some guys to come through and show that you're not just beating up on bad teams. You can produce at a high level against a team that has the exact same goal as you. If the Grizzlies want to get to the Western Conference Finals, there's a high likelihood they're going to have to go through the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah,
and you know what, Joe? If they want to get to the NBA Cup knockout round, they're going to have to go to the Let's talk. We got to give the scenarios here. Somebody wants to know out there, Joe. You might not.
They need like 10 things to happen.
All right. Let's just
it's the most unrealistic parlay in history.
The simple thing here, the most simple thing is, not only do the Grizzlies have to win this game, but in order for Memphis to have a chance to win the tiebreakers over Dallas and Denver, because those are the two teams they'll have to win the tiebreaker over in their group. Memphis must win by at least 24 points against the Mavericks in regulation. So the way they've been beating up on teams lately, they got to beat a good Dallas Mavericks team the same way. So nothing else matters if they don't just completely obliterate the Dallas Mavericks. You got to win by at least 24 points. And then on top of that, this is why Joe says it's pretty unlikely. And I say it's unlikely. It's just, I'm sure somebody out there wants to know. It might not be a lot of you, but somebody wants to know. But they need Oklahoma City to lose. They need Portland to lose. They need Denver to lose. Oklahoma City, Portland, Denver. If those three teams lose, OKC, Portland, and Denver, Memphis has to win by at least 24 points against the Dallas Mavericks, and they'll be in business. So it is not an easy task on hand. Like, for example, OKC, right? You need them to lose. OKC's playing tomorrow. They're at home against the Utah Jazz. So you need a miracle.
Oh, yeah. The mighty Utah Jazz. The sound of Salt Lake, the Utah Jazz.
Need a miracle.
Is Larry Markkinen healthy? Maybe he'll cook and destroy the best team in the NBA.
You're gonna need him to do more than cook if you want a chance. But that's the scenario. Nothing. But main thing is you need him to blow out the Dallas Mavericks. So if you're into that type of thing, if the Grizzlies are up 30 points and there are 3 minutes left in the game, make sure you're screaming to Taylor Jenkins to keep the boys in the game.
You know what the best part of the game is going to be? Because he's already done it once. He's going to do the exact opposite of that. They're going to be up by like 20 or whatever it is, and he's going to wave the white flag with 2 minutes left.
Do you remember the Golden State game? He made a lot of people mad in San Francisco when I was up there. They didn't like the fact that the Grizzlies, because that game ended up being closer than it actually was, and people in Golden State were booing because the Grizzlies stars were still in the game. So, but yeah, it might be over with for them at this point. I mean, not might. It's a 0.05% chance or something like that. It's not happening, but hey, anything's possible.
Let Damichael and I know how you're feeling about this Grizzlies finale and the NBA Cup. Hopefully, again, the only reason I want them to do it is so you can go to Vegas. That's literally the only reason.
Well, I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, enjoy yourself on the CA's dime, right? Maybe get a little stipend here, head up the Bellagio. I won't tell anybody. Thank you guys so much for being with us on this episode of Locked On Grizzlies. On the Wednesday edition of the show, it'll be Damichael Cole flying solo for those of you that are everydayers. And if you're not an everydayer by now, what are you doing? An 8:30 Eastern time start. Little bit late for my old wash self. So Damichael will be getting this one solo, and you'll have a lot of fun things to talk about. You'll notice, Damichael, I threw you the softball. The ESPN 25 under 25 came out, and we didn't talk about it on this episode.
Yeah,
that might be a fun thing for you to discuss. And you'll be a lot more calm about it than me. Apparently, Gigi Jackson is not just injured; he's dead. Apparently, Gigi Jackson has died.
He's forgotten.
Rest in peace, Gigi. You apparently are not one of the top 25 players in the NBA under the age of 25.
You know what, Joe? I've seen him putting in some work lately. He's breaking some sweats around here in Memphis. So the guys, he's working hard to get back. That's only going to motivate him more, things like that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe chatting a little bit about that one.
Make sure you're liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing, Locked On Grizzlies, wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Make sure you are subscribing to our Locked On Grizzlies newsletter. It is free, sent to your inbox each and every day. Go to lockedondaily.com, find the Grizzlies tab, subscribe. We also have the nice little QR code in the bottom right corner of our screen. You can go there and subscribe to our newsletter right now. Do it right now. What are you waiting for? It's great content each and every day, not just on the Grizzlies, but on the NBA at large as well. Make sure you're hanging out with Damichael tomorrow for Locked On Grizzlies. Make sure you're with us each and every time an episode drops. Until then, enjoy Grizzlies Nuggets. Stay locked in. Or excuse me, not Grizzlies Nuggets, Grizzlies Mavs. I'm jumping ahead, Damichael. Enjoy Grizzlies Mavs. I just can't wait to get out of the NBA Cup. I can't wait. I just can't. Go Grizzlies. Have a good one. We'll catch you next time here on Locked On Grizzlies.